All right, welcome back. So this is part two of um, deep learning for coders. So I did another video, and unfortunately, something happened where I lost the video. Um, I all I did though was I just answered the questions, and I almost got all the way through, but I've got 5 left. Before doing that though, I would like to go back and play around some more with the actual code because I apparently made a mistake where it identified my nephew as a cat. Um, so I want to go back and see if I can correct that mistake. Okay, and I'll be able to explain what the mistake is. Hopefully I'll get another 6 hours today to work on this. I'm not sure when you can renew your 6 hours, but hopefully it is not after too long. So, okay, I haven't used it in 16 hours, so let's get another 6 hours by hitting start. So I don't see any information about. Okay, so it's. Okay, so here's some learn more to learn about that auto shutdown after 6 hours. Okay, so it looks like it just automatically shuts down, but there's no limit as to restarting it. It's not like it locks you out for an hour before you can restart, anything like that. So that's really good news. That's something I didn't know. Okay, and I'm gonna say that in Discord to help my teammates out here. I think that'll be useful for them to know. And I'll say FYI as no, after your 6 hours expire and your notebook automatically stops, there's no lock out. You can restart it right away. Okay, so oh, but you do have to wait for it to go back into pending state, provision state, and then running state. So you will be locked out for a few minutes, but really not a big deal. Oh, I got really bad heartburn the other day, which is interesting because I'm sticking to a diet right now where I eat the same thing every day. So I know exactly how many calories I eat, exactly how much fat, exactly how much protein, exactly how much fiber, and it does include spicy food. I'm eating a little bit of jalapeno because I got a tub of pico de gallo that's 70 calories that I have every day, and it's got some jalapeno in it. And I've never had like heartburn that was like really uncomfortable. I mean, of course I've had it before, but like definitely not recently, not for like years. So like I'm surprised I'm getting heartburn. All right, so let's keep going. The other interesting thing is I've been been on it for about 5 days, and the first few days my weight just plummeted like a rock. But now it's starting to kind of even up more, and in fact even sometimes go up when I am on the scale. But I'm just locked into those same amount of calories. So it's kind of interesting how my body is changing. I think what's happening is as it starts to change and it starts to use kind of my stores to fill in those extra calories for the deficit or what have you, how it retains water is a bit different. So like I'll have like a fluctuation up because it will retain more water than it used to. And then of course as I get more thin, I'll be able to kind of exert myself a little bit better during exercise. Or I might have exercise where I accomplish more for less. So it might be more difficult to burn calories during exercise. Yeah, I was expecting it to level off for sure, but planning to do it for like at least a few weeks, maybe like a full month, and just seeing what it does. So far, I've been really happy with it. And the food's like good. Like it's basically like you come up with something you want to eat every day, and then you make sure, of course, it's the right number of calories, it's the right number of fat, that sort of thing. And then you just eat that thing every day. But it's not like you're eating things you don't want to eat. You're eating things you do want to eat. Alright, so right now I'm just waiting for this to go into running state because I want to play with the code some more. While we're waiting for that, let's actually work on the questions. And another thing that's interesting is in my other project, I added a git ignore file that I did not have before. It's interesting that they have one as well. So let's see what sort of things they are ignoring. One of the things I would expect to see here is that venv file. Sorry, folder. So it looks like they have the pi cache here. But it's interesting that I don't see the venv being ignored. Perhaps they named it something different. So maybe the bears is their BNB or the temp. But it is pretty encouraging to see that they did ignore at least one of the same folders that I ignored. Okay, so I guess I'm not gonna go back through these questions. Well, there's just so much. Like this is a huge lift. I think a lot of academics sometimes don't realize what they're asking of people. That's why I really love my experience at a 2-year college, because it was basically like, you know, we want you to have a better life. Right now, if you're making, you know, minimum wage at some job, we want you to make you know, a 40% increase of what you make now. You know, we don't want you to be the next Albert Einstein. We want you to have a better life, and to do that, we think you need to do this stuff. So it's kind of, they say, we don't want you to do the highest possible level of achievement. We want you to meet the lowest possible level of achievement, and if you go above that, great. Like that's excellent. There'll be people to work with you. There'll be senior level students. You can go in for extra training. You can have one-on-ones with your teacher. That high level of achievement is still there, but you're not expected to do it. And I think that's a big flaw in kind of more higher education. They don't have a bar to meet, and then they don't have a bar to meet that is achievable. They have one that's just way off in the clouds, and most people can't achieve the bare minimum expectations that a lot of academic institutions have. And I think that's different when you go to like a 2-year college. Like most of the expectations they have for like 2-year college students are reasonable, at least in my experience. And I will say that when I went to 2-year college, it was the first year of a new curriculum they developed because the old curriculum had too high of a dropout rate. So the bar when I went there might have been set a bit lower than it is usually. I was one of the students that decided to kind of go above and beyond. I did a lot of extracurriculars and stuff. All right, so let's take a look at the next question. What is an architecture? Okay, so an architecture is the functional form of the model. So an architecture is the functional form of the model, but not the model itself. All right, so let's do the next one. What is segmentation? Okay, so here we go. So a segmentation is a model that can recognize the content of every individual pixel in an image. Okay, what is y_range used for, and when do we need it? So it is used since we're predicting a continuous number rather than a category, we have to tell. It is used to limit the scope of continuous numbers. You need it when using numbers instead of categories. What are hyperparameters? Okay, so many choices can be described as choices of hyperparameters. The word reflects that they are, so they're parameters about parameters. Okay, so what's the best way to avoid failures when using AI in an organization? So just off the top of my head, I would say use pre-trained models. But let's see what the book says. Another thing off the top of my head would be, so I forget what they were called, but yeah, use validation sets as well. So use pre-trained models, use validation sets. Use test sets. Okay, so the most important takeaway is this: if you ensure that you really understand what test and validation sets are and why they're important, you'll avoid the single biggest source of failures we've seen when organizations decide to use AI. For example, if you're considering bringing in an external vendor or service, make sure that you hold some test data that the vendor never gets to see. So I'm going to write that as well. And then check their model on your test data using a metric that you choose based on what actually matters to you in practice. You decide what level of performance is adequate. It's also a good idea for you to try out some simple baseline yourself so you know what a really simple model can achieve. Often it'll turn out that your simple model performs just as well as one produced by an external expert. So and then develop a simple baseline model. Okay, so we've answered all the questions. Let's go back and see if I can get the code to work in a better manner. So, okay, we're in running state now, so I'm going to click open. Okay, and now I will open the intro book. Okay, and we're going to go down. We're going to okay, now we're going to try to use this code here. So we've got image here. We're defining, and then we change the image to a thumbnail. But it looks like we redefined this variable image down here. So let's change this to be redefined to be image 1, and then this is going to be image 1, and then I mean we did see that this was image, but let's just make sure that there are no issues with that. Okay, so now let's run some of these cells. So, yep, and we're going to need this cell as well, the training data, which takes a little bit of time. And then we won't need this cell for the documentation. We won't need this cell here. We won't even need this cell here. We're just going to need this cell once our model has been trained. Okay, so it's going to return the first Okay, so it's done training. So let's put this code in a notepad so that it's more in my line of view. And then I'll close that. So notepad++. Okay, and then we're going to do Python. Excellent. So now we've got, now this is an interesting function. Let's see what it's called. Okay, so it's label function, and okay, so it's being passed. So it's a argument to this special thing here. So I'm not exactly sure what this does, but one thing I can do is print out. I can rewrite this function to print out the results of it. But before I do that, I'm going to come down and run this uploader, and then we're going to upload a picture. And we'll do a picture of my nephew, and we'll see if he is a cat. Okay, so this cell is now complete. So the picture of my nephew should print out here. Okay, it might take a little bit of time for that to print out. Oops, I accidentally clicked it again without meaning to. Okay, so it looks like we've got a problem here. So one thing I am wondering is we never did the img.to thumb conversion here. Ah, here it is. So it's just a big photo. Took a long time for it to upload, but now it's ready to go. So let's see if my nephew is a cat. Yep, my nephew is a cat. So let's make a comment. We'll say my nephew is definitely a cat. I think this model is very limited. It can only determine whether something is a cat or a dog. If it is neither, it still makes it still decides whether to call it a cat or a dog based on certain criteria. Okay, so my nephew is definitely a cat. I think this model is very limited. It can only determine whether something is a cat or a dog. If it is neither, it still decides to call it a cat or a dog based My nephew is definitely a cat. I think this model is very limited. It can only determine whether something is a cat or a dog. If it is neither, it still decides to call it a cat or a dog. Um, I made sure to avoid problems with the previous cells by using a new variable name. Okay, I made sure to avoid problems with the previous cells by using a new variable name. Okay, so let's see if it can determine, if it can accurately point out a dog. So let's look for a good picture of a dog. The internet is usually pretty darn good when it comes to oh yeah, so this is a good one. Let's go with this dog here on the left, straight out of a Hallmark movie. Okay, and then we will save it, and it will be saved as, we'll just say new photo, because we don't want to give it an extra boost. We want it to not have, make sure that it's not using make sure that it's not using the title of the photo for anything, just the contents of it. Okay, so I've got that uploaded. Let's do this cell now. So, okay, so now hopefully when I click run, it will, yep, this shows the picture of the dog now. So let's see if it is a dog or a cat. Okay, and then let's do a print screen on that and share that to the group. Okay, and now I put it in airplane mode again by accident, so let's take my computer out of airplane mode. There we go. So hopefully the connection will reform. Yep, and it did. So for that, so we'll say actually the model can't even tell you if something is a dog. It can only tell you how certain it is whether or not the photo is of a cat. Actually, the model can't even tell you if something is a dog. It can only tell you how certain it is whether or not the photo is of a cat. A photo of a dog is very... the probability that a photo of a dog is a cat is very low. I think it's working. It's just, I think it is working. It's just more limited than what I was expecting. Yeah, because I was expecting it to be able to like tell you it's a dog. I mean, obviously, I know Python, so there's no code to say, this is a dog or this is a cat. I can see very clearly it will only tell you if it's a cat or not. But it does seem to be working. Let's see here. So Yeah, the problem is, I think it is working. It's just more limited than what I was expecting. Okay. Could probably. Okay. So yeah, all it can tell you is whether or not something is a cat or not. Let's give it a curveball, and let's see if it can tell that the curveball is a cat. So like here's a good one. The cat is wearing a mask. Like here's a good one too. Like the cat is actually a human dressed like a cat. So I can go with any one of those. Here's just a straight up paw. So yes, this is a picture of a cat, but it's a picture of the paw and not the face. This is, I think, a really good one. Let's go with this. Okay, so this is definitely a cat. Any human could recognize that this is a picture of a cat, but it's not a picture of the face of a cat. It's a picture of the paw of a cat. Alright, so let's upload that photo. Okay, and then we'll initialize the variable with that new image, and now that image will print out. Perfect. So let's see if it can tell if just the paw of a cat is a cat. Wow, that's kind of cool. I'm actually pretty impressed by that. So wow, this is pretty cool though. I'm actually pretty impressed that it knew with good confidence that this was a picture of a cat, even though the picture only contains the paw of the cat. Okay, so let's do one more. We'll do something. Let's have the paw of something that is not a cat. Because I don't think all cats have paws. I think dogs have paws as well. Okay, so here's the paw of a dog. So let's see if the paw of the dog is recognized as the paw of a cat. So I think any one of these will be fine. Let's go with this one, and we'll just take the paw like this. Okay, and then we'll save it to new photo. Yep, can overwrite that. And then we'll upload it. Here, so we'll click the uploader. Then we'll go down to new photo. We'll initialize the variable, and then we'll print the variable. Make sure that it's perfect. Okay, so now we'll see, is this a cat? Ah, cool. Cool. Yeah, it can even distinguish a cat paw from a dog paw. Cool. So I think I'm satisfied with this. I say, okay, I'm satisfied. Satisfied with my progress for Monday. I can probably, or I can help anybody stuck today. Okay, I'm satisfied with my progress from Monday. I can help anybody stuck today. So, yep, this is going to be good. My nephew is definitely a cat. That's one thing I have learned from doing this. He's a cat. He's not a dog. So let's go and end the video here. So the next video, this is the end of part 2 of lesson 1. So the next video we'll be doing lesson 2. There'll be a video, there'll be a workbook, there'll be all sorts of things. So thanks for watching and stay tuned for lesson 2.